Welcome to the No Budget Indie Filmcast, where we dip into the independent film universe to highlight those little films that you might not have heard about elsewhere. Will you agree with our panel, or will our panel agree with each other? Tune in to find out. I am Milo Dennison, and with me, as always, is Claire Milan.
Hello.
And Cathal Feeney.
Hello.
All right, Claire, what did we watch this week?
So this week we sat down to watch a Canadian film called Lay Me by the Shore. It was directed by David Findlay and it is starring Isla Pouliot, I think his name was, as Noah. It premiered at the Berliner International Film Festival last year and the Toronto International Film Festival. It follows a week in the life of a trans boy in his final days of school as he comes to terms with his best friend's recent passing. So it's exploring the raw, potent emotions of youth through the prism of grief. The film lends an empathetic eye on a young person's very immediate but suppressed emotions. So it's drenched in warm light of long June days and with the intimidating spectre of an uncertain future looming. The tale is told from the perspective of the recently deceased, an omnipresent and benevolent presence. So that was the blurb that was on the YouTube channel.
Wow.
We did a bit of a lengthy blurb, but it's kind of weird because when I saw the film, I didn't get that. I didn't really understand that it was a trans boy. I thought it was just a boy just graduating and there was a death in the family. But I was a little bit confused regarding the story. So that blurb didn't quite match up with what I saw. But I must say, I really thought was shown in this film was the cinematography. I loved the fact it was done in kind of a square framing. And I didn't realize it was set in Canada. I kind of thought, it was the US, but it's actually set in Canada. And you see some beautiful imagery. Like there's one image of I think it was Noah, the main protagonist. I think he's skateboarding down a road, and it's this beautiful. It's like a drone shot, and there's like mountains in the background in a suburb of a town somewhere. And I love the framing and the music, and the way it was shot. But I just thought the story just lacked something. There was emotion in it, but I didn't get that it was about a trans boy. But you do get a good sense of something going on. There's a death and emotion, with good music, and there is it's like 20 minutes long, so it's not a really short. It does build. There is a nice build to it, so you do feel sorry for the protagonist, and he's involved in a relationship that I think there's a breakdown in the relationship, and you do know his friend has died at some stage. Sorry, spoiler alert. But yeah, it's just, but the story...
It's okay. In your description that you read, it said from the point of the dead person.
So it says in the description, so that's not really a spoiler alert. But yeah, I thought the cinematography is beautiful, the framing, the acting was very subtle, very few words in it, but I didn't get the story of what in the synopsis that was described. That didn't come across at all for me. But it was very atmospheric and I loved the framing of it. But yeah, I don't know what you guys thought of it. Yeah.
I'm almost curious to ask you to read out that blurb again. Like when I started watching it, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't read anything about it, and at the beginning, there's something a bit sort of it's something about the beginning that throws you off balance, because you have this conversation between this guy and his partner, but you don't hear it. And so, obviously it's not important, this conversation, whatever they're saying. And then outside the car, he's talking to this other guy, this other man, and you don't really fully hear that either. So it kind of, it takes you a while to sort of make sense of the film, see, what's happening here, what's this film about, and then you do get into it. And when you do it, it's very rewarding. It was for me anyway, because he uses sort of visuals and sound and music to tell the story it's like a montage. It's almost like a music video in a lot of ways. And the song that was the inspiration for the film Lay Me by the Shore, that's played throughout the film, so that lends it that kind of music video quality. Now, like we did review his other film Found Me, uh which was very similar aesthetically. It was very similar, so this is kind of the style he obviously goes for. And I must say I really liked it.
It actually is like a music video, isn't it?
Uh,
Yeah,
it,
it's yeah, very much so.
it's funny because I actually watched our review of his previous film, and at some point we said the same thing. We're like, it's a lot like a music video with the way the music. So it's funny that we're saying the same thing about this one. And you're right, it is a very similar style to his other film. Um, this one though, I felt like jumped around a bit too much. His other film jumped around a bit, but it worked. But in this one, you've got like the opening shot with the water, and then the car, and then the outside of the car, and then the pool, and then the road, and the talking, and and it just keeps jumping around really quickly in the beginning, and you're like just waiting and waiting and waiting. And you're like, okay, this is kind of leading me something, and then like, okay, I get it. The kid's kind of depressed. Okay, why is the kid depressed? And then like you said in the description, it says trans, but nothing in the film ever says that, right?
No, it's very
And
strange.
yeah, exactly. And he does have kind of a look to him to where you're like, okay, is this person trans? Okay, maybe I could get that. So you think it, so that's fine, but it's still never, it's not part of the story. So why is that relevant in the description or this, right? Like, does his being trans contribute to the person dying? Like, we don't know. All we eventually learn how the person died. But did he contribute to that in some way? Maybe, maybe not. Like, I'm guessing it's just his really good friend, and then he's working up the nerve to go talk to the parents or something like that, which then leads to conflict with school. And then even in the IMDb description, it's like the last exams at school, everyone is in a celebratory mood, and it's like, oh, okay. So I remember there was a shot of a classroom, and then there's like a shot of people partying on the beach. And like, okay, I guess that must be what this is about. But you don't really get any of this in the story. So you just get these little pieces that you're supposed to kind of put together yourself, which is great. But, because I don't necessarily want a movie to tell me everything, but I also do need it to tell me something. And a 20-minute long music video of like 1,000 different shots of this town gives me a little bit, but not enough. And it's funny because you said Canada. I'm like, that makes sense. Because when I was watching it, I was like, the kid kept leaving his bike everywhere, and then the house had the kayaks out front. And I'm like, what kind of town is this where you leave your bike laying around all over the place and nobody's going to steal it? And then you're like, Canada. Oh, okay, that's why.
Okay, I didn't know that. You can do that in Canada, isn't it?
Canada. You wouldn't do that in America.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's a straight ahead narrative piece, Like I think it's trying to to draw you into the kind of the emotions that he's feeling, the conflict that he's feeling. So like this, it's like a montage of sort of different images and sounds and so on. And like I really liked, for instance, there was a scene when he was in the swimming pool, and then he had this flashback to the accident, and you could hear like the screams and the shrieks, and I thought that really was very emotive, and like it was the whole film was like that. I don't think it was meant to kind of tell you a story necessarily. The information was there. He had a friend, he died, and he's trying to deal with it. And I think that the way the film was made was sort of to 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 bring you into his emotional state. That's all.
Yeah, it definitely does
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of creates an atmosphere. If you take it like that, I suppose you can get sucked into it in one way. And it is very atmospheric, and there is a lot of thought into all the shots as well, and yeah, if you kind of go with it, yeah, it's a bit abstract, some of the stuff. and a little bit disjointed, but again, it is very atmospheric, and I do think the cinematography in this is fantastic. Really well thought out of, and the shots they used was brilliant.
I don't know. I kind of got the vibe that it's like, hey, look, I have access to all these locations. I have a drone. Here, let me get all these cool atmospheric shots to put in my film because I can. You know.
Okay.
But did you not
Really?
think that they were like that they fitted into the film, that they were appropriate in some way? No.
They fit, sure, to help extend the runtime.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had a
Uh,
great look, that actor as well, didn't he? He was brilliant. The
Yeah, he's
actor,
great. Yeah, like
amazing
the
look.
actor's really good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, no, yeah, he's a very talented actor and stuff like that. And I do like the fact that, I mean, that he is a trans person, but that's not key to the story. Like it's not about that. So that, like, you know, that you can have a trans character in a film and the film's not about being trans, right? It's about something
Yeah,
else, you
yeah,
know,
that's
which is kind of
interesting.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
some of them
yeah.
can be very heavy-handed, some of if there's a message in it. So the
Yeah.
fact they kind of avoided that,
Mhm.
you know, but it's interesting because you wouldn't have known the person was trans unless you read the synopsis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of suspected though.
Mm.
Unless the whole trans idea was to give the impression that he was a lot closer to this guy
Maybe.
rather
Okay.
than a friend.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could have those emotions just if it was a friend, somebody you knew, somebody you grew up with, who died recently in very tragic circumstances,
Yeah.
and it seems that he kind of blames himself. So uh,
Does he kind of blame himself though? Or is he just
I
really
think
sad about the loss?
I mean there was one scene like where he's talking to his girlfriend or whoever she is, and you can just hear her saying it's I think it's not your fault or it's my fault, it's not your fault. So I think he does blame himself in some way. Maybe he felt not that he was responsible, but that he could have done more to save him.
Yeah, the fact he's a
And I'm sure,
lifeguard as well, I suppose. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure many people in similar circumstances feel they could have done something. You know, it's survivor's guilt. Like it's
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Mm. All
mm.
right. Well, we got a nice little pause there, so I guess that means it's ratings time. Uh, Paul, you want to go first, or you want me to go?
Yeah. I must say I really like this film. I we had I watched it again this evening. I know we were supposed to do this last week, but I watched it again this evening, and I must say I really liked it. I like the concept. I like the execution, the photography, the sound, music, everything. I'll give it 5 stars.
Okay.
I liked it, but I definitely liked his other film that we saw better. Not that you should be comparing two films, but putting this film on its own, it just felt a bit too disjointed for me, and that might have been the intent, but for me, it didn't work as well. And great acting, and yeah, the cinematography is lovely, but I think just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And I feel like it distracted a bit much for me from like wanting to actually care about this person. But it is still a good film, and he's still a good filmmaker. So I'm going to go 3 stars. I'm going to go kind of right in the middle on this one.
So for me, it's very atmospheric. I love the cinematography, but it is a little bit disjointed, and I just a little bit long as well. So I'm going to give it 3.5 stars.
All right. Whether you have it, No Budget Filmcast audience, a few different ratings from us, nice little discussion on the subject. If you want to check out the film, it is called Lay Me by the Shore. You can find it on Vimeo. It's by David Findlay. And of course, you can let us know what you think by leaving a comment or reaching out to us on social media at No Budget Show on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And until next time, we'll see you, and goodbye.
Bye.
But
Here we go.